okay, we're getting ready to compete to have a chance to go on to the next game right now. Those people that are saying you can't do something are saying it while they're sitting home on their couch. They got plenty of time to talk because they're not prepping for a game. But, the dynamics of college football have shifted with the revenue share, the NIL. You look at the SEC this year, the parity throughout the year. How many teams had similar records? How many teams are knocking each other off left and right? Those days of having one team that has 3 future first-round running backs just sitting in a stable, I'm not saying they're completely done, but they're not going to be common. It's not going to be very likely when you do that. The reality is most of these guys who are capable are going to look to go find somewhere to play early on. And whatever we think about that as far as, transferring before you have a chance to play, that's really what it's going to be. So there's a lot of parity on the rosters across the conference, a lot of parity across the country. So as long as you have the resources and you have the support, which Ole Miss absolutely does, to put that into the players and build that, absolutely. The dynamics have shifted. It's no longer the blue bloods and the have-nots. Now it's just, are you in the game now, right? Anyone can sit down at the poker table if they got the money to play, right?
And I just want to follow up. The 2 Miami defenders that they brought in said that one of the keys to success against you guys would be to force you guys into third games. How do you combat that? How do you continue to play at that tempo?
No, one thing, they're absolutely right about that, but that's a key for any team in any game, right? They're not saying anything wrong, and their coaches are right as far as painting that picture. One, you got to play ahead of the sticks. Teams that play well on third down typically play well on second down. And you don't want to be in third and long. And especially against this team, if you get them in third and long, they're going to come out the gates and get their pass rush going. They're going to get that dime package on the field, and they're going to attack you vertically up the field with good jet rushers, and they got a very, very strong, very talented front, and they're going to go ahead and get after you, right? So, you talk about the danger zone, 3rd and 7 to 10 is a very high pressure, very high variety of defenses for this team. That's kind of, you talk about the danger zone. So you kind of educate the players on look, this is the zone. You have to know where all this stuff's coming. So they're 100% right. They can get to the strength of their defense with the pass rush and their multiples. And that's kind of key for any team, right? Offensively, you always want to play ahead of the sticks. No one wants to be in third and long, okay? But that really comes down to how you play on the early downs, first and second down execute.
Can I ask you to elaborate on what the chaos was like when the Hernandez thing was going on with the Patriots? You mentioned, I'm curious.
I got an NDA from there that I really can't talk. I'll say this as a neighbor. I mean, it's.
Were you a next door neighbor?
Yeah, I was a next door neighbor.
Okay.
Yeah, if you watch those documentaries, my house is on the TV in the next door. Yeah. The detectives knocked on my door to find out where he was. I didn't know. I mean, we just kind of talked to the organization. But, I mean, it was obviously chaotic. But, again, those players that year handled that extremely well. Came out of that chaos, and we had some really good direction inside with some veterans and different guys. And you have something like that happen, it's how do you handle something like that? How do you deal with something like that? So, you keep the focus on what you can handle, what you can control, which at that time was football for us, and went through the stretch. And we're able to have success that year. It was 2014. We ended the season here as well.
I know it's not apples to oranges at all, obviously, but did going through something that chaotic sort of help you be a bit of a rock for this program in this chaos?
I think as a coaching staff, if you look at the handful of years we've all come out of as a staff, everybody, just think back to COVID, right? So everyone keeps asking questions about the coaching staff changes. I can remember during COVID, you never knew who you're going to have at a game. So you had to prep everybody to be ready at all times. Our called backup defensive line coach was one of our strength coaches. We had backup offensive line coaches that were what would be the equivalent of analysts, guys that were working inside. We had plans for every player that weren't available at the game. One of the things we had to talk about every Saturday night before Sunday was, what if we wake up tomorrow and any player at your position pops positive for COVID? I mean, that was just part of the program. We had to go through that all the time. So you always plan ahead in the transition, you plan ahead on what's going to happen. To me, right now, that's very similar to what we've been going through. There's an ideal structure you want to have, but what if? Okay, what's our plan? If so-and-so can't come back to coach whatever position, what's our plan? It doesn't matter what the reason out there is. We have to have a preparation, a plan ready for the player. So we always talk ahead. Basically, after every game, me and Charlie and Pete have sat down and talked about kind of the next week's coming up and how we're going to handle it, and when he's going down to Baton Rouge, when he's coming back, what he has to handle, how we're going to prep for next week, all that stuff. So we've stayed ahead on this, and then continuously throughout the weeks, we've just communicated in terms of all the what ifs.
Thanks, Joe. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Appreciate you.
briefly discussed JDE earlier. How have you seen him reacclimate to Oxford, the program, and how has he come along with his players, especially the returners?
I'll talk to him I'll let him speak for himself in terms of like his own reacclimation. I just know the guy's jumped in like it's riding a bike. So he's a ball coach, and he's jumped in. He's been coaching football from day one he's got here. Obviously, he's handling, a big load for us with the portal stuff because, again, while we're at practice, there's been times he's been on the field. There's been times he's had to have meetings with players who are on campus visiting, things of that nature this week. But he's a ball coach, so he just jumps right on in. It doesn't matter if he's working with the tight ends, which he used to coach here. He's got to jump in with the running backs for a day, or he's got to jump in at any point with the receivers. He just goes to coaching. He knows the offense. He knows the system. He knows the culture here. He's worked personally with Charlie and other coaches here before already. So he just jumps right back on in. I can't say like he's never left because I wasn't here with him the first time, but he jumps back in, has a lot of confidence with the way he conducts himself.
And you touched on it. We're here with you once, but what has your relationship been like with him so far? Has it grown at all?
Starting at ground zero, we hadn't known each other. It's definitely grown, but he's been awesome. I can't be more excited to work with anybody. I mean, the way he sees the game, he's one of them West Texas ball guys. You know what I mean? So it's all ball with him all the time. Gets right to it. He loves coaching. Loves seeing the development of the players on the field, and I'm very excited about the future to come.